Well, it really is a lot of fun for us to be able to be together for a moment like this. This is the 8th year in a row that we have participated in Football Sunday here at Heritage, and it is always fun to see the way that people respond. There have been years that we've had people show up in Green Bay Packer cheeseheads, and there's been people we've had at times that we've had Arkansas Razorback hats. I saw a Raiders helmet this morning, and so I'm just curious reading the room. Yeah, there's one clap for that. That's good. That's about right. I'm curious, just reading the room, how many of you are thinking tonight you're really hoping that the Eagles are going to win? Anybody in the room that's pulling for the Eagles? NFC East traitors right there, all of you. How many of you decided to become Patrick Mahomes fans after the Cowboys were knocked out? Yeah, okay. And how many of you are hoping that somehow there's all been a big mistake and they're going to give the trophy to the Cowboys tonight anyway? Yeah. Okay. How many of you don't care? It's more than any other preference. It's just that, I'm here for the chip dip, that kind of thing, which is totally cool. Last night there was an event here in this room. One of our neighborhood associations hosted a party, and apparently some of the Chiefs fans left behind some decorations up in the ceiling up there. I noticed there's no green balloons, but that's totally cool. So football fans come in all kinds, all shapes and sizes, and everybody's got different interests and different levels of commitment to the game. And I don't know what your plan is for watching, if you're planning on watching at all tonight. Some of you you're the kind of person that you want to watch this game in a big group, and you're going to be at a party, and you're going to be up and down, and you're going to be enjoying refreshments and conversation and all of that kind of thing. And you'll keep just one eye on what's going on in the game. Some of you, on the other hand, are going to be the kind of fan that wants to watch this at home so that you can give it undivided attention, and you're going to pay attention to every play, and you're going to watch every down, and you're going to scrutinize every decision and every call and all of that kind of thing as you're watching the game. But however you plan to watch, whether you're somebody who's totally invested or really not all that interested, what we have found over the last few years on Super Bowl Sunday, when we have hosted Football Sunday, we found that these conversations and hearing some input from some players and coaches and NFL personalities as they are living out their faith, it helps to enhance our experience of watching the game. I can't help but think about the fact that every single believer in Jesus, everybody is on a spiritual journey that's unique. Right? Your story, your backstory, your history, everything that brought you to this point, whether you're a believer or somebody who's just checking that out right now or somebody who's been a disciple for a long time, your story and what brought you to this point is very unique. It's different than anybody that's sitting in the room, anybody, even the folks that are sitting right beside you. And that's absolutely true for these NFL players who also are followers of Jesus. But as I think about what it would be like to be an NFL star, somebody who's playing on one of the world's biggest stages and also trying to live out faith in that spotlight, I think about how that would come with some unique challenges. There'd be lots of scrutiny. There'd be lots of pressure. These are people who find that no matter where they are in life, no matter what they're doing, no matter whether they're at home or away, the camera's always on. Somebody's always looking to see whether their character matches the persona. And so as we watch some of the footage this morning, I'm excited to be able to share with you so that when you're watching the game tonight, you'll have an opportunity to see past the numbers, past the performances and past the faces, and just have an opportunity to know some of the character that's behind some of the stardom, some of the personality that's being displayed on TV tonight. I want to express my gratitude to the team at SportsSpectrum.com and Sports Spectrum Magazine, and I wanted to make you aware of this organization, because if you're a sports fan and you're interested in learning more about some of these players, and not just in the NFL, but all across professional sports, players who are living out their faith in the public eye, you should should check out this organization and follow them on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, and you can find out more at sportsspectrum.com. And they do they're constantly creating new content where they're promoting and sharing the stories of people who are living their faith out in a very public way, and it's really cool. But to get you started, I want to share with you a compilation of some interview clips with some Christian players and coaches that are from the Eagles organization, because as they get ready to play tonight, I want you to know about the heart that they're taking with them into the game. Let's watch this video together.
My strength comes from God, and I know the importance of faith. I know what my foundation is with my faith, and nothing goes on without God.
I had plans and God had other plans. You know, I try not to lean on my own understanding. You know, I read the Bible a lot. You know, because that's how I fight my problems. You know, prayer is powerful, man. I mean, that's all I've been doing, is just praying and just doing all I can control, and then staying in my word and making sure that I whenever I'm around my family, make sure I keep serving them and just enjoying every little bit of the good stuff that God want to give me.
Whatever my career's done is, I mean, people, yeah, they're gonna know me as a punter and whatnot. That's great, but you know, I want people to know that you know, I was faithful to my wife, that I love Jesus. And that's the most important thing. That's, you know, the most important things to me.
I think he's working through me, man. Honestly, I mean, coming from Camden, New Jersey, who would have ever thought that a kid from Camden would be in this position? And I don't think you could get here, you know, without God.
I just think that he's, you know, just be true to him. You know, things that I've done in my faith is, you know, I've probably grown stronger during those low times, and I think it's helped prepare me for the high times.
And, you know, I'm a believer in everything I do. It's for him, and you know, just a blessing to be here where we are today. And no, it's truly incredible.
And I was able to realize that this is like a platform. Like, I know if I didn't commit my life to Christ, like, this would be overwhelming for me. I would be going in the wrong direction. You know, all the success, all the attention, all the, you know, it's allowed me to stay humble, you know, and realize that I'm only here because of God.
And all these worldly things that we're involved in, and I've been able to, you know, become the man I'm supposed to be through God's eyes this year.
I want to make sure people know, like, when they see me, they see Christ.
My strength comes.
So I think it's so cool to hear from some of these players who are really at the pinnacle of their game. I mean, you're seeing some of the stars of the team who are declaring that part of their motivation, their inspiration, and where their strength comes from is from their faith in God. But I don't want to leave you Chiefs fans out. I've also got some content for you. So we're going to watch a similar compilation video that's going to show some of the moments where they heard from a string of different Chiefs players and team members who also are living out their faith in the public eye. Let's watch this together.
I mean, my Christian faith plays a role in everything that I do. I mean, I always ask God to lead me in the right direction and let me be who I am for his name. So it has a role in everything that I do, and obviously it will be on the huge stage in the Super Bowl that he's given me, and I want to make sure I'm glorifying him while I do it.
Because I think in those times when it's really rough, and it does in this business, I always have Jesus to fall back on.
Yeah. Man, you gotta have a strong faith, man. Gotta stay strong. Gotta fight the long race, man. Just keep chopping wood every single day.
That's the most important thing. You know, if I didn't have faith in God, I don't think I'd be the father I am, the husband I am, the kicker I am. That kind of sets the tone for everything else, and everything falls under that. But that gives me the strength to go do everything I need to do that, you know, I may have fears about. I might feel pressure, but I know I'm a child of God, and he's gonna protect me, and maybe that protection comes with some suffering, but I know that's what's best for me, and I gotta accept that suffering and grow as best I can with that.
I think in this point, it's just timing. Timing, that's the biggest thing, timing. God's timing is everything. Also, it's just more the point is like, you know, I think he took me out of the limelight for a reason for a while, just to kind of get away, kind of get back, re-diving into my family, kind of get back to them for a little bit more.
This time of year, it's easy to get tied up with the Super Bowl and thinking about how important football is, but in our family, it's faith, family, and football, and in that order. And, you know, that's a challenge, but it's something that we really focus on as a family, and it's the number one thing in our lives.
My fault. I hope you notice some of the names of some of those players so that you can recognize them when they pop up on the screen and during the game tonight. But as I think about what it looks like for them to live out their faith in public, and as I listen to the longer forms of some of these interviews that were done, you saw just some excerpts initially there, but as I listened to some of the longer form interviews, one of the themes that kept coming up is how challenging it is when they face different adversities in their careers. And one of the things that really impresses me, you see a few of these players who are veterans who have been around the league for a long time, but there's quite a few of these players also who are pretty young people, pretty young guys. They're in their early 20s, some of them kind of fresh out of college. Some of them even didn't go and do all of the years of college because they were eager to get to the NFL and made that step, you know. And you think about everything that they've been through and all the challenges that they're facing, all the opportunities that are in front of them, all of the unique challenges that are in front of them that come with that kind of limelight, that kind of notoriety, that kind of fame. And I'm really impressed at their willingness to not only declare their faith, but to talk about some of the challenges that they faced. You know, when they talk about their adversity, some of them talk about how challenging it's been at times in their career when they maybe were let go from one team and they weren't sure if they would be picked up by another team. Some of them talk about moments when they have faced injury and suddenly everything that they thought they had mapped out about their future came into question and they weren't sure how things were going to work out. They talk about facing difficulties in their personal lives, difficulties in their professional lives that made them wonder, God, what are you up to? What are you doing through all of this? And that's just some of the beginning of the career adversities that these folks have faced. And so for the next few minutes, we're actually going to watch a series of some of the longer form interviews that were done. You'll see a couple of clips that you already saw for just a few seconds there. But we're going to watch a couple of the interviews that I have picked out specifically because these guys are talking about facing adversity and facing adversity with faith. Let's watch these together, and then we'll talk about what that looks like for
Guys,
us.
we're at Super Bowl 57 here in Phoenix, Arizona, and I am with Noah Gray, the tight end of the Kansas City Chiefs. Noah, when you think about this journey that God has taken you on to bring you to where you are right now, standing here talking to me, what comes to mind when you think about all that he's brought you to where you are today?
I mean, just all glory to him. Just super grateful that I've had this opportunity. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be standing here today. He's really lifted a lot of stress and weight off my shoulders to know that I can just kind of go to him whenever things are tough or even when things are going well. You know, it's been an absolute blessing to really lean on him and really all glory to him. You know, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be able to stand here and, you know, hang out with you guys, you know?
Take me through your faith journey a little bit and kind of where it started for you.
Yeah, when I got to Kansas City, actually, there's a pastor there whose wife had known my mom growing up in the church that they were up in New Hampshire, because that's originally where I was born and from. So, you know, I just kind of wanted to get connected to some people out here when I first got here. And I reached out to Pastor Troy down at New Life, and I actually, first time I met them, I showed up to a service. And from there, I just had a lot of questions. And I think Troy did such an amazing job with trying to help me and guide me through my faith journey because it really wasn't strong. You know, I'd always kind of been a believer, but I hadn't been kind of fully all in. And he really just helped me with anything that I had questions on. Anytime I had any time of the day, night, like if something popped in my head, he was always there to kind of guide me. And then, you know, Marcellus reaching out with the Chiefs really helped me as well because it kind of made me understand that it went beyond just, you know, certain little areas in our life. It goes into football and it goes into community with our teammates and stuff like that. And I thought Marcellus did an amazing job bringing a lot of guys together on the team and just really helping us connect and really talk about God and, you know, all that stuff.
How does that help you stay ready when you're preparing to do battle? You're in a football game, right? And obviously we saw what happened with Damar Hamlin and kind of the fragility of life, right? How does that help you with your faith to be able to know, hey, you know, football is important, I want to do my best, but really it's not the most important thing?
Oh, absolutely tremendous. And I think prayer has been the biggest thing that I've had to lean on. Even in mid-game, just really asking him for strength, you know, letting him know that he is great, you know, he is our Father, and just so appreciative of everything that he's done. And really just like little prayers like that just really lift a lot of weight off my shoulders and really just kind of
reconcentrate my mind when I'm out on the field.
Noah, best of luck Sunday. Thanks for talking to us.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming up.
I mean, my Christian faith plays a role in everything that I do. I mean, I always ask God to lead me in the right direction and let me be who I am for his name. So it has a role in everything that I do, and obviously it will be on the huge stage in the Super Bowl that he's given me, and I want to make sure I'm glorifying him while I do it. Yeah, it's about just playing for your teammates, just trying to do whatever you can to win the game for your teammates beside you. And in that moment, God gave me the strength to run and get that first down and get us in the field goal range. And so all I've done since then is try to get my ankle better and better, and hopefully I'll be able to run whenever I need to in this game. It means everything. I know that I'm blessed to be in this position, and I know that I'm here for a reason and to glorify him. And so it means everything, not only about my football career, but all the decisions that I make. And so to have a faith backing, I know why I'm here, and it's not about winning football games, it's about glorifying him. And I think that gives me I have no pressure when I step on that football field, 'cause I know why I'm here. It just kind of relieves the pressure of playing the football game, because I know that I'm on that football field to glorify him before everything. And so it's not about winning or losing. It's about going out there and being the best that I can in his name. And so I think that the faith, and I feel like I've grown in my faith over these last few years, and I think that's gave me a more sense of who I am and why I play the game that I play. I actually got a tattoo about Eutychus in Acts 20 verse 7. It's about being half in and half out on God, and the interpretation that I took from it, and how you can't be half in and half out. And so that was the Bible verse that kind of stuck with me, that kind of told me that I needed to be fully in.
Boston Scott, thanks for joining us on Sports Spectrum. How's this week been for you, man?
It's been amazing, man. It's been a blessing. Like, it's not. These are things that I've prayed for. So, like, just seeing those things come to fruition is kind of overwhelming, but at the same time, super humbling. And I'm happy to be here. I'm committed to getting the job done, whatever that takes. So, but just it's taken a lot to get here, so it's amazing.
You said it's an answer to a lot of the prayers that you prayed. Tell me about some of those prayers, and when did they begin, and how have they kind of manifested themselves to where we are today?
Yeah, man, I think starting back when I was really in middle school, I was praying for an opportunity to play running back, you know what I mean? And then it goes from praying for an opportunity to play running back to, just to mold me as a man, you know what I mean? Like helping me out with my discipline, helping me out with my work ethic, being able to drive towards something, even though it might not work out, you know what I mean? Just having the courage and the faith to lean into him. I'm not saying that it's guaranteed that I'm going to make it to the NFL, you know what I'm saying? But just that idea of, even though the goal doesn't seem attainable, or you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, do you have the courage to have faith in God that he will provide? And that's something that I feel like he's been teaching me over time, and throughout the journey he's been, like I said, he's been molding me into the man that he wants me to be. So yeah, I mean, the prayers have been the same. I wanted to make it to the NFL. I wanted to play at the highest level. I wanted to compete at that level. So yeah, he's answered those prayers, and I'm thankful.
Take me through your walk with the Lord and your walk with Christ. How did that come to be for you and its importance in your life today? Obviously, prayer is important too, but just that walk with the Lord.
Yeah, for sure. So my mom did a great job of, making sure that we were in the church. So, I knew of God, but I didn't know God just yet. But it did interest me. Like, I'd be in the back of the church reading through Revelations, just for, what I'm saying? Like, just
Revelation's not an easy book.
Just something I want to read, like, because it was interesting to me. But I always will remember whenever Pastor Sanford at North Boulevard Macedonia in Baton Rouge, he would always make an altar call. He would do it, for those that want to commit their life to Christ. And I would always feel just this intense feeling inside of me that it was almost like just a pull, you know what I mean? So kind of fast forward to college, really, like high school, we didn't have FCA. So, I would go to church with my family, but I feel like I really took that next step in college. Whenever I got involved with FCA, guys, names that, I know are a big part in my walk, Hayden Slack, Hunter Lee, Blake Martin, Paul Turner. They were guys that would continually be like, hey man, come check out the FCA. Just come check it out. You know what I mean? Because, like, again, I knew of God, but I didn't know God. You know what I mean? So, like, I committed my life to Christ at 16, but really, like I said, once I got to college, that's when the relationship really started to grow. You know what I mean? Like I did 16, I was at a retreat for Bethany. That's when I committed my life to the Lord. But like I said, whenever I got to college, got in a small group, got involved in FCA, that's when it really started to grow. And so being involved in a small group with Lucius McGee and Rustin, and it's been an amazing and incredible journey, man. But it really, like this whole sports thing, it puts things into perspective, man. And just, I was able to realize that this is like a platform. Like, I know if I didn't commit my life to Christ, like, this would be overwhelming for me. I would be going in the wrong direction. You know, all the success, all the attention, all the, you know, it's allowed me to stay humble, you know, and realize that I'm only here because of God. And so with this platform, with this success, you know, my job is to enhance the kingdom and to spread the good news. So that's what I'm committed to doing. But so I really think that my relationship began to take off whenever I got to college, when I got involved in FCA, whenever I got involved in small group. So
my last question, the platform that you have been given, have you thought about, you know, what if we win the Super Bowl, or when you win the Super Bowl, in your case, about using your platform to be able to share your faith, to be able to share about Christ, knowing that you would be a Super Bowl champion?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest stages in the world. You know what I mean? So what better place to talk about why I am here? Because that's something I truly believe. I truly believe that I'm here because of God. God had a purpose for my life, and this is just what it happened to be, you know? So, I mean, if I get that opportunity, I can't wait.
Best of luck Sunday, man. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Super Bowl 57 here for Sports Spectrum, and I'm with Eagles punter Brett Kern. Is it still weird to say Eagles punter and have that kind of stick with you?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, when you've been in one place for 13 years, to come somewhere else, put on a different uniform is it's a little weird, but I've definitely gotten used to it, and my family's gotten used to it, and it's been a blessing.
When you think about where God has brought you, and where you were when you got cut, when you were no longer a Titan, and here you are standing talking to me at something called Super Bowl Media Night, what comes to mind?
Man, I'm just extremely thankful. You know, I think the biggest thing that I've learned, especially in my career, is you know, feeling like we have control over what happens, and sometimes, you know, when I got released in Denver, you know, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't understand why, and it was hard to kind of trust the Lord as saying, well, what do you have next? Like, I thought I was going to be here for a while and all that stuff, but little did I know He brought me to Tennessee for 13 years, and being able to raise our 3 kids there and call that home, and so when I got released from Tennessee, it was tough. It was really tough. But I knew from past experiences that, all right, Lord, you have something here, whether I'm done with football or there's another team that calls. And so, so I mean, when Philly called, I was just like, I can't believe this, you know. And so, just to be here, to experience it, kind of to pinch myself, you know, because like I said, I mean, it took 15 years to be able to experience something like this. So, you know, I'm just enjoying the moment, soaking it all up, and you know, obviously the end goal is to get a ring on Sunday.
And what a platform to talk about your faith and to share the love of God. Like, how cool is this, and the biggest stage possible, to be able to see God work through you?
Yeah, I mean, I just had an interview with a couple people, and I don't know if they're faith-based or not. I don't really care. And so, you know, that's my story, the story of, you know, where God has brought me through this whole process, and the little things that I've learned along the way, and honestly, you know, whenever my career's done I mean, people, they're going to know me as a punter and whatnot. That's great, but you know, I want people to know that, you know, I was faithful to my wife. That I love Jesus, and that's the most important thing. That's, you know, the most important things to me. And so, that's kind of my goal, and just use the platform that he's blessed me with to just talk about my faith and like I said, where he started and where he's brought me, and continue to go.
What do you think the prayer will be on Sunday before you go out there to play in the biggest game of your life?
I mean, it's just a prayer of gratitude. That's kind of where this song I've been listening to right now is, the Brandon Lake song, and gratitude. And you really don't have much to give, right? But it's just a heart, a posture of gratitude that just my story, knowing where he's brought me and my family to, here we are on Super Bowl Sunday.
Brett, thanks, and best of luck on Sunday.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We're here with Harrison Butker, Kansas City Chiefs kicker. You're at the Super Bowl for the third time in 4 years. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, very crazy. It's a blessing. I'm very fortunate. It's very rare for this to happen.
Tell me about your faith in God, the importance of the Lord in your life.
Well, that's the most important thing. If I didn't have faith in God, I don't think I'd be the father I am, the husband I am, the kicker I am. That kind of sets the tone for everything else, and everything falls under that. But that gives me the strength to go do everything I need to do that, I may have fears about. I might feel pressure, but I know I'm a child of God, and he's going to protect me. And maybe that protection comes with some suffering, but I know that's what's best for me, and I got to accept that suffering and grow as best I can with that.
What's this year been like for you spiritually, growing in the Lord?
It's been great, actually, right? You miss some kicks and you realize, okay, my identity can't be all as a football player, right? So I grew a lot in my prayer life, and knowing that I'm nothing without him, and I got to lean on him. And if he wants to take anything away from me, he can. And if he wants to add anything, he can. And, it's all up to him.
What do you think a prayer might be that you might be thanking God for as you think about what this season has been like for you?
Jesus, I trust in you is a great one. Just trusting his will over our own will, because our own will would be worldly success, right? But there's been a lot of great saints that didn't have worldly success, a lot of great people that didn't. So we got to trust in his will.
I feel like you go through things and you kind of have moments where you have to lean on your faith, and that's something that I've kind of come to in college. A scripture that I lean on heavily is John 13:7. You may not know now, but later you'll understand. And I feel like along with that faith, it's been a lot of work, So I think it's kind of been hand in hand. And I embrace it just by being me, me being who God called me to be. I truly try and focus on the things that I can control, not the things that I can't. So control the things you can, put the work in, never lose faith in what you believe in, and it usually works out. I leaned on my faith, I leaned on my foundation, my family, the things that I believed in, and the people that were around me through everything. And those people are still here. Later, Jesus replied, you may not know now, but later you understand. And I feel like I was going through a really tough time in college, going through things that no one else was really going through. And I knew I was going through it for a reason. I really believe that. So that's what I doubled down on. And I believe faith without work is dead. So while you have faith, you can't, not be doing anything. So I had a lot of faith, and I put a lot of work in. I never stopped believing in myself and believing what could be. So I had limitless possibilities. And I know where my strength comes from. It comes from God, and I know the importance of faith. I know what my foundation is with my faith, and nothing goes on without God. My favorite scripture, John 13:7. You may not know now, but later you understand. Just reminds me to continue to be patient, continue to remain diligent, steadfast, keep going, keep your eyes on me, and keep God at the center, regardless of what the circumstance is.
As I listen to each of them talk about what their faith journey has been like, number one, I'm really mindful of the fact that they've got so much spotlight on them, just even in that very moment, and they're in the middle of, all of the hoopla, all of the pomp and circumstance of the NFL Super Bowl media day and all of the emotion that has built up to this moment, and then suddenly a reporter asks them to stop and talk about their faith, to stop and talk about what has spiritually brought them to that moment. And I appreciate them being willing to articulate that, being willing to talk about some of the challenges that they've been through. But what strikes me is, I don't know why that's making that sound, I'm sorry. What strikes me is that they probably didn't know that question was coming. They didn't have, maybe the emotional time to prepare, to shift gears from talking about, football strategy to suddenly talking about their spiritual journey. And so when they have to make that switch on the fly, the first thing that comes to mind for so many of them is to talk about the moments along their journey, the moments in their story where they didn't know what was next. The moments in their history when they weren't sure what God was going to do. And they were talking about some of the challenges that they faced, some of the moments that they'd been through in college or earlier in their professional lives when they felt like things were up in the air and they couldn't predict how things were going to turn out. But then after some more time passed and with some more perspective, they were able to look at what God did. They were able to look at what God carried them through and how God walked beside them, and they were able to see that God never left, even when they didn't understand what was happening in the moment. I wanted to put a little bit of context onto the favorite verse that Jalen Hurts mentioned 3 different times. I could tell he was really excited to share that one with us. And it actually comes from an interesting moment in one of my favorite passages in all of Scripture, in John chapter 13, when Jesus makes this incredible gesture, this monumental moment in the narrative where Jesus washes his disciples' feet. It's very near the end of Jesus' time on earth before he heads to the cross. The section of Scripture, that chapter, actually begins with this profound statement that says, Jesus knew that all authority in heaven and on earth had been given to him, and so he got up from the table and took off his outer garment and wrapped a towel around his waist, and he washed his disciples' feet. It's this really paradoxical moment where Jesus does what nobody would have expected, what nobody would have demanded, what nobody anticipated, including Jesus' friend Simon Peter. And so when Jesus, the one in the room who deserves the most honor, the one in the room who deserves the most privilege, the one in the room who should never be required to stoop to wash somebody else's feet, when Jesus comes around the table to Simon Peter, Simon can't see what's going on. He can't tell what this is leading to. He's not sure. It feels like everything he thought he knew about Jesus, everything he thought he knew about what the Messiah had. And so Peter's a little bit confused, discombobulated, and he asks Jesus, Lord, are you going to do this? Are you really going to wash my feet? And he doesn't have a place in his brain for that. He doesn't have a place to put that because this just doesn't fit the narrative that he thought they were living out. And Jesus' response to him, Jalen's favorite verse, Jesus said, you don't realize now what I'm doing, but later you will understand. Now that's a very contextualized moment, a very specific response to a very specific question in Jesus' life. But I appreciate what Jalen has done, what Jalen Hurts has done with this verse, as he has looked back over the course of his own spiritual journey and some of the ups and downs and some of the highs and lows and moments when he was in college and since then when he just wasn't sure how all of this was going to work out. And he's able to look back on that and hear Jesus saying to him, you didn't understand what was going on at that time. You didn't realize in that moment what I was doing, but later you will. And it's that kind of trust, that kind of faith, based on a history with God, based on a confidence in God. It's that kind of faith that can allow us even today to face moments and challenges in life when we just aren't sure where things are heading. And I wonder what that is for you. As I look around the room and think about the stories, think about some of the issues that you are facing, your families are facing, some of the unknowns, I figure it's not very hard for you to put yourself in that position and say, God, is this really the plan? God, is this really what my life is going to look like? God, what are you up to? And I wonder if we can hear Jesus repeating those words for us. Right now, you don't realize what I'm up to. Right now, you don't understand because of your limited perspective, because of your need for faith. You can't yet understand what I'm doing. But later, if you trust me, later, if you'll stick with this, later, if you'll plant your faith firmly, your confidence in God, later you'll begin to understand. That's the kind of faith that God was asking Peter to have. It's the kind of faith that God is asking us to have, even in moments when we're not sure how the next step is going to work out. I want to remind you, some of you know this old song that we used to sing. One of those songs that, is from decades ago. But growing up in church, we would sing this old song that it was called Turn Your Eyes Upon Jesus. Some of you have that one memorized, and you remember those words. And that chorus that said, turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face. And the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and his grace. I mean, that's a mantra to live by, right? This is the testimony that we're hearing from some of these NFL players as we listen to these stories today. They're saying, there have been moments in my life when I just couldn't see where God was taking me, but when I turned my eyes to Jesus, when I planted my faith in Jesus, when I put my confidence and my trust in Jesus, I discovered that my concerns and my worries and my fears, they were minimized. They grew strangely dim because of Jesus' greatness. I hope you know this song. If you don't, you ought to go look it up, maybe on YouTube, and listen to it so you could memorize these words. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and his grace. Maybe you needed to be reminded of that. Maybe you needed to be reminded today that Jesus' presence is available, that Jesus' history is not done, that Jesus continues to work and is continuing to be active in our story.